If you're thinking about moving to Oviedo, Florida, one of the biggest questions that you might have is, should I rent or should I buy? And honestly, this has become more important than ever in the past few years, especially the past 10 years, I would say, for Oviedo, because rents have gone up, home prices have gone up, and the demand for Oviedo has absolutely exploded. So today is March 16th or 17th. And just in the past 4 weeks alone, I've had probably 2 people a week asking me to help them with their home search. And this demand is just going to continue to increase, especially through May and June. So if you're thinking about making a move to Oviedo, now is the time to reach out to me. I've been a realtor here for 10 years, and personally, I've watched Oviedo grow from a somewhat quiet suburb into one of the most in-demand places to live in all of Central Florida. So in this video, we're going to break down renting versus buying in Oviedo, what rental prices and home prices have done over the last decade, and why many people regret renting long-term. I'm also going to add in, because some data just came out about buying a rental for UCF. So maybe if you're someone who your kid is planning on going to UCF, or maybe even 5-10 years down the road, if your kid is planning on going to UCF or you want them to go to UCF, why buying a house for your kid while they attend UCF is a good idea. Because if you're going to live in Oviedo or even just be near UCF, this is something that you're really going to want to understand. I'm Christine McKinley with the Orlando Real Estate Chicks, and welcome to my YouTube channel where I talk about all things Seminole County real estate, Orlando real estate, and especially Oviedo real estate. So if that is interesting to you, and if you're thinking about making a move to Oviedo, please like and subscribe and leave a comment below, or reach out to me using this QR code to get your Oviedo home search started. So first, we need to talk about why Oviedo has become such a hot real estate market. If you are new to Oviedo, or maybe your research is just leading you to Oviedo, you're probably realizing this. Oviedo is consistently ranked one of the best suburbs in the Orlando area for a few big reasons. Number one is the schools. Seminole County has some of the best districts for Central Florida schools such as Oviedo High School, Haggerty High School, and many of the elementary schools. These are consistently attracting families relocating from other states. And number two is location. So Oviedo is 25 minutes from downtown Orlando, 40 to 50 minutes from the beaches, depending on which beach you're going to, and just minutes from the University of Central Florida, and we call it UCF here. UCF brings thousands of students, professors, and professionals every single year. And number three that you're probably honing in on is quality of life, especially if you're coming from New Jersey, New York, Connecticut. Oviedo has beautiful neighborhoods, parks and trails like the Seminole Cross Trail, great restaurants and shopping, and it still feels safe and suburban while being close to everything. So because of this, demand has skyrocketed over the last decade, and demand has had a huge impact on both rents and prices. So let's talk about what rental prices have done in Oviedo recently. 10 years ago, renting in Oviedo was honestly pretty affordable. Around 2015, you could typically rent a 3-bedroom house for maybe $1,400 to $1,700 per month, which was totally doable. You used to be able to get a 2-bedroom apartment for maybe around $1,200. But fast forward to today, that same 3-bedroom house in Oviedo now typically rents for about $2,400 to $3,000 per month, depending on the neighborhood, the location, proximity to UCF, proximity to the best school zones, Oviedo on the Park, and even apartments near UCF have jumped drastically. 2-bedroom apartments near UCF that used to rent for around $1,200 are now often closer to $2,000 a month and more. That's not even really the biggest story. The bigger story here is that rents keep rising, and one reason is just that the population keeps growing so rapidly. And with rentals in particular, the biggest factor is the University of Central Florida. So UCF is one of the largest universities in the United States, and housing demand around the university is massive. Recently, there was a really big announcement regarding UCF housing that could push even more students into the rental market. UCF just announced on-campus housing prices are increasing significantly, and I'm gonna need to call some of my clients who I know have kids at UCF and see what the general consensus is of all of this. But for the first time in about 12 years, the university approved an increase in housing costs. So for example, a single occupancy dorm style room would increase from about $3,500 per semester to about $4,375 per semester. That's about a 25% increase. And even double occupancy rooms are increasing to about $3,300 per semester. But here's the big takeaway. When dorm costs go up, students start looking for off-campus housing. And when students move off campus, they start renting homes in places like Oviedo, East Orlando, parts of Winter Park, and the UCF area. So what does that mean? That means that rental demand increases prices even more, which means that rents will go up. So if you're looking for a rental in Oviedo to maybe get your bearings around the city before you officially, write an offer or move permanently to the area, reach out to me. That way I can direct you to neighborhoods that maybe are going to have much less UCF students than others. That is going to help your rent price. Now let's talk about buying. So 10 years ago, homes in Oviedo were honestly a bargain compared to today. 10 years ago, Oviedo on the Park was just kind of like starting to get built. That 2017. Yeah, Oviedo on the Park was still like a rendering that people were trying to sell to new construction developers. So in 2015, the average single family home was roughly about $240,000 to $280,000. I think one of my very first sales in Twin Rivers in Oviedo was at exactly $241, and that was a 3-2 with a pool. Now many homes in Oviedo are $450,000 to $550,000, or even $800,000 and up. Now, that sounds dramatic, but here's the important thing. The people who bought in Oviedo 10 years ago built a massive amount of equity. Let's say someone bought a house in Oviedo in 2015 for $275,000. That same house could easily be worth $500,000 or more. That is over $200,000 in equity growth. And that is why I say that real estate and time makes you look like a genius. So let's break down why buying often makes more sense when talking about Oviedo. When you rent, a few things happen. Number one, your rent usually increases every single year by about 3%. Number two, you are just building zero equity. I don't have to preach to the choir. I'm sure you've heard this before. So just going through the pros and cons here. But number three, you have no control over the property long term. Your landlord could sell the house, decide not to renew your lease. But when you buy a home, a few really powerful things start happening. Your monthly payment starts building equity in the property, which is a beautiful thing to see long term. Your home may appreciate in value over time. Actually, I'm willing to bet that it will. You gain stability. Your payment stays relatively predictable if you have a fixed mortgage. And in Florida, we have something called the homestead tax exemption, which stops your property taxes from increasing every single year by a lot. So your monthly payment will pretty much stay the same. Now, this part is for my people that are considering purchasing a house for their student that's going to UCF. This is a very interesting strategy, and I'm sure that my parents kick themselves wishing that they did this, but buying a house for your kid while they attend UCF is something to strongly consider. So let's say that your child's going to attend UCF for 4 years. For me, it took 5 years, but let's say that they're an overachiever. Many parents will end up helping pay the rent the entire time, and that could easily look something like this: $1,000 to $1,500 per month for a bedroom in a shared apartment. 4 years, that can add up to $50,000 to $70,000 in rent, and that money is completely gone. But some families are taking a different approach, and I'm helping people like this every single month do this. Instead of renting, they buy a house near UCF, and there's some really, really great neighborhoods for this. Their child lives in the home, maybe they get some roommates, they're renting the other bedrooms to some friends. So for example, let's say you buy a 4-bedroom home in Oviedo. Your child lives in 1 bedroom, probably the master, and the other 3 rooms rent for $800 to $1,000 each. Now, suddenly, the rent from the other students could cover most of the mortgage, and after 4 years, you have built so much equity in the property, and you still own a house in one of the strongest rental markets in all of Central Florida. It is truly a no-brainer if you're in the position to do this. Because UCF and UCF have constant student demand, and with over 70,000 students at UCF, housing demand is not going anywhere. From my personal experience working in this market for the past decade, I can tell you this: the demand for Oviedo homes has increased consistently. I've seen buyers relocate from Miami, New York, California, and all over the country, specifically because they want good schools, a safe neighborhood, proximity to UCF, and a great place to raise a family. So when the markets have slowed down in other places, a lot of the cities within Orlando became kind of like hyper local different markets. Oviedo has always stayed strong because the fundamentals here are so good. So if you're trying to decide between renting and buying in Oviedo, the biggest thing to think about is just the long-term wealth. If you're considering buying in Oviedo, whether it is your first home, whether it's an investment property or a UCF rental for your kid or someone else's kid, I'd love to help you explore your options. Feel free to reach out to me using this QR code. And if you want to understand the Orlando market or the Oviedo market better, reach out to me. I'd be happy to help. Bye.